across the state with connections to the Bandidos Motorcycle Club.
The Bandidos Motorcycle Club is one of the most notorious outlaw motorcycle clubs in the world. Founded in Texas in 1966, this brotherhood operates under a strict code of conduct that separates them from society's norms. Members don't just join a club, they enter a lifestyle governed by unwritten laws and brutal consequences. Let's find out these 15 mandatory rules that offer a glimpse into the secretive world where loyalty is everything and betrayal costs more than most are willing to pay. Number 15. Brotherhood above all.
My car is broke down. I can call any one of them up and they come down and help me out. It's unlimited what they'll do for me. I mean, it's like closer than family. In fact, I'm closer to my Bandido brothers.
In the Bandidos world, brotherhood isn't just a word, it's everything. When a man puts on that red and gold patch, he's not just joining a motorcycle club, he's getting a new family. This bond goes deeper than blood. Members call each other brothers, and they mean it in every sense of the word. The club comes first, before wife, kids, job, or anything else. Many members say the only way to understand this brotherhood is to live it. When one brother hurts, they all feel it. When one celebrates, they all raise their drinks. This brotherhood demands sacrifice. Members have been known to give up good jobs, relationships, and even move across the country when the club calls. Stories circulate about members who have sold their possessions to bail brothers out of jail or pay for funeral expenses. The bond is built through shared experiences, long rides through harsh weather, standing together against rival clubs, and the daily ritual of having each other's backs no matter what. The intensity of this brotherhood is what makes the Bandidos different from regular motorcycle enthusiasts. It's not uncommon for members to have the club's colors tattooed over their hearts or the famous Fat Mexican logo permanently inked somewhere visible. These aren't fashion statements, they're lifelong commitments. The club becomes the center of a member's identity. Regular folks might define themselves by their profession or family name, but a Bandido is a Bandido first and foremost. They eat together, ride together, party together, and if needed, they fight together. Members who've been interviewed after leaving the club often mention missing this sense of belonging more than anything else. The brotherhood rule exists because the club knows its survival depends on absolute loyalty. In their world, full of rivals and law enforcement pressure, the slightest crack in unity could bring everything down. Brothers don't question each other's loyalty. They don't doubt the commitment. They just know that when things get rough, they've got people who will stand with them no matter what. This all-consuming brotherhood naturally leads to the next rule that binds them together, physically and symbolically. The requirement to ride as one unit, showing their strength through mandatory group rides that display their colors across highways and through towns with unmistakable power and presence. Number 14. Mandatory group rides. When the Bandidos hit the road together, it's not just a casual weekend activity, it's a fundamental duty of membership. Group rides serve multiple purposes in the club's structure, and missing one without a rock-solid excuse is asking for trouble. These aren't optional social gatherings, they're mandatory demonstrations of unity and strength. The thunder of dozens or even hundreds of motorcycles moving in formation creates an unforgettable impression. The sight of leather-clad men wearing matching patches, rolling through towns and across highways, sends a clear message about the club's presence and power. For the Bandidos, this visual impact matters. It reminds everyone, from ordinary citizens to rival clubs, that they are a force to be reckoned with. Group rides follow strict formation protocols. The club president or road captain typically leads, followed by officers and then regular members in order of seniority. Prospects, those hoping to earn full membership, often ride at the back or handle security positions. This formation isn't random. It's a moving display of the club's hierarchy and organization. Riders maintain precise distances between bikes and hold their positions with military-like discipline. These rides aren't announced with public invitations. Members receive notification through internal channels, sometimes with very little advance notice. When the call comes, excuses are few and far between. Work schedules, family commitments, even illness might not be enough to exempt a member from showing up. Those who repeatedly miss rides face escalating consequences, starting with fines or additional duties and potentially leading to loss of good standing or even their membership. The rides cement brotherhood through shared experience. Hours on the road together, facing weather, traffic, mechanical problems, and sometimes harassment from authorities builds the bonds that the club relies on. Members watch out for each other, help with broken-down bikes, and stand together when confronted. The physical discomfort of long rides, sore muscles, sunburn, dehydration, and exhaustion becomes a shared badge of honor. Some rides have specific purposes beyond showing colors. Memorial rides honor fallen brothers. Charity runs, which are often more public, help maintain the club's image in communities. Other rides might mark territory or respond to encroachment by rival clubs. Whatever the purpose, the expectation remains the same. When the Bandidos ride, everyone rides. The ritual aspects of group rides can't be overlooked. The pre-ride gathering, the inspection of bikes, the briefing about the route and purpose. These traditions reinforce the club's identity. The post-ride celebration, often at a club-friendly bar or clubhouse, provides the release after hours of focused riding. These traditions turn what might be just transportation into a defining cultural practice. This commitment to riding together connects directly to the club's emphasis on meeting together. The same expectation of mandatory attendance that applies to rides extends to the regular club meetings, where the business of the brotherhood gets handled with equal seriousness and strict attendance requirements. Number 13. Regular club meetings. The clubhouse door shuts, phones get collected, outside voices go quiet. This is when the real business of the Bandidos happens, during regular club meetings that no member can afford to miss. These gatherings, often weekly, serve as the nervous system of the organization, where information flows, decisions get made, and the club maintains its grip on members' loyalty. These aren't casual get-togethers. Club meetings follow strict protocols that haven't changed much in decades. They typically happen in secure locations, clubhouses with reinforced doors, security cameras, and sometimes lookouts posted outside. The timing isn't random either, with many chapters holding their meetings on the same day of the week, month after month, creating a rhythm that members build their lives around. Attendance isn't just encouraged, it's demanded. Members know that club meetings take priority over almost everything else in their lives. Missing work, family events, or personal commitments is expected if they conflict with meeting times. The only acceptable excuses might be hospitalization, incarceration, or being on club business elsewhere. And even then, members might need to provide proof or get advance permission from leadership. The structure of these meetings reflects the military-inspired organization of the club. The president calls the meeting to order. Officers report on their areas of responsibility. Financial accounts get reviewed. Intelligence about rival clubs or law enforcement activity gets shared. Disciplinary matters are addressed. Upcoming events and rides are announced. Votes might be taken on important decisions, though many clubs operate more by consensus of leadership than true democracy. For prospects, those hoping to earn their full membership, meetings mean extra duties. They might stand guard outside, run errands, or serve drinks to patch-wearing members. These prospects absorb the club's protocols by watching and learning, understanding that one day they might sit among the decision-makers if they prove their worth. The consequences for missing meetings start small, but escalate quickly. A first absence might mean a fine, perhaps $50 or $100, that goes into the club treasury. Missing multiple meetings could mean more severe financial penalties, additional duties, or loss of privileges. Continued absence without acceptable reasons signals a lack of commitment that the club won't tolerate for long. Eventually, missing too many meetings will put a member's patch, his identity within the club, at risk. Meetings reinforce the psychological grip the club holds on its members. Being regularly surrounded by brothers who share the same values, who speak the same insider language, who understand the club's symbols and traditions, this constant reinforcement makes it harder for outside influences to penetrate a member's loyalty. The regular rhythm of meetings becomes part of a member's core identity. The business discussed in these meetings stays strictly within the walls where it happens. Members understand that meeting topics, whether they involve internal conflicts, territory disputes, financial matters, or planned activities, are never to be discussed with outsiders, including wives and girlfriends. This secrecy creates another layer of shared experience that binds members together. As serious as these meetings can be, they often transition into more relaxed brotherhood time afterward. Once official business concludes, the beers might come out, stories get shared, and the bonds of brotherhood strengthen through social connection. This balance of formal business and casual bonding characterizes much of club life. The structure of these meetings reflects something fundamental about the Bandidos organization: a clear chain of command where orders flow from top to bottom without question or hesitation. This hierarchy, reinforced at every meeting, sets the stage for the next critical rule that keeps the club functioning as a disciplined force. Number 12. Absolute hierarchy and obedience. The Bandidos organization isn't built on democratic principles. It's a top-down power structure where rank determines everything. From the international president down to the newest prospect, everyone knows exactly where they stand in the pecking order. This hierarchy isn't just organizational, it's a fundamental principle that keeps the club functioning as a unified force, rather than a collection of individuals. At the top of this pyramid sits the national or international leadership, often referred to as the mother chapter. Below them are regional presidents, then individual chapter presidents, followed by chapter officers: vice president, secretary, treasurer, sergeant-at-arms, road captain, full patch members, probationary members, and finally prospects at the bottom. This structure ensures that orders flow downward with clear authority and that information gets channeled upward through proper channels. When a higher-ranking member gives an order, immediate compliance is expected without question or hesitation. This could be something as simple as telling a prospect to watch the bikes, or as serious as directing a member to handle a problem with a rival club. The nature of the order doesn't change the expectation. In the Bandidos world, questioning authority simply isn't tolerated. The phrase, "this is not a democracy," gets repeated in many outlaw clubs for good reason. The visual markers of this hierarchy are built into the club's patch system. Full members wear the complete three-piece patch: top rocker with club name, center patch with logo, bottom rocker with territory. Officers might wear additional patches or pins indicating their position. Prospects typically wear only a partial patch, or sometimes just a small prospect patch, visually reinforcing their lower status until they've earned their place in the brotherhood. Disrespect toward higher-ranking members brings swift consequences. Even a perceived slight, interrupting an officer while he's speaking, failing to use proper titles, or not standing when the president enters the room, can result in immediate punishment. These penalties might range from fines to physical discipline to additional duties. Repeated instances of disrespect suggest a member doesn't understand his place in the organization, a problem the club won't tolerate indefinitely. This strict hierarchy extends beyond formal club functions. Even in social situations, the chain of command remains in effect. Lower-ranking members don't sit until higher-ranking ones have taken their seats. They don't speak to outsiders on behalf of the club unless authorized. They show proper deference in their language and behavior at all times. This constant reinforcement of status differences becomes second nature to members over time. New members learn this hierarchy through direct experience. Prospects spend months or even years at the bottom of this ladder, taking orders from everyone above them. This extended period of submission serves a purpose. It weeds out those who can't accept authority and identifies those who can operate effectively within a command structure. By the time a prospect earns his full patch, the habits of obedience are deeply ingrained. The military influence on this hierarchical structure is obvious and intentional. Many early outlaw motorcycle clubs were formed by veterans returning from World War II or the Korean War who missed the clear chain of command and brotherhood they'd experienced in military service. They recreated that familiar structure in their civilian organizations, complete with ranks, insignia, and expectations of absolute obedience. While this rigid hierarchy might seem oppressive to outsiders, For members, it provides clarity and security. Everyone knows exactly what's expected, who gives orders, and who takes them. This structure eliminates power struggles that might otherwise tear the Brotherhood apart. It also creates efficiency. When decisions need to be made quickly, there's no debate or consensus building required. The leadership decides, and the rest execute. This absolute hierarchy functions in part because it's wrapped in powerful symbols that members revere above almost everything else. The patches, colors, and insignia that identify the Bandidos aren't just decorations. They're sacred emblems that represent the Brotherhood and must be protected at all costs, even with violence if necessary. Number 11. Sacred Club Symbols.
These self-described outlaws wear patches which say things like, "Expect no mercy," but they're not what you expect.
Nothing matters more to a Bandidos member than the patches on his back and the colors he wears. These aren't just fabric and thread. They're sacred symbols that represent the Brotherhood and everything it stands for. The central patch depicting the character known as the Fat Mexican, wearing a sombrero and carrying a machete and pistol. The red and gold colors, the MC, Motorcycle Club designation, and the 1% diamond patch. These symbols carry meaning that outsiders can barely comprehend. The three-piece patch, top rocker with Bandidos, center patch with the Fat Mexican logo, and bottom rocker indicating territory, represents years of dedication, sacrifice, and proving oneself worthy. Members don't simply receive these patches, they earn them through a grueling prospect period that tests their loyalty, toughness, and commitment. Stories circulate of prospects who spent 2 or 3 years proving themselves before finally receiving their full colors. This long journey makes the patches invaluable to those who wear them. The club's colors aren't worn casually. Members follow strict rules about when and how their patches appear in public. The colors get worn with pride during official rides, at club functions, and in certain territories. But they might be covered or removed in other situations, not out of shame, but to control when and how the club's presence is displayed. Many members keep their vests, called cuts, within arm's reach at all times, ready to put them on if called to club business. These sacred symbols must be protected at all costs. Members will fight, and some have died, defending their patches from being taken by rivals or disrespected by outsiders. If a member falls off his bike during a ride, his brothers will often secure his cut first, even before tending to his injuries. The patches matter that much. Stories circulate about brutal confrontations that started simply because someone touched a member's vest without permission or made derogatory comments about the club's insignia. The rules about these symbols extend beyond just the main patches. The 1% diamond patch, referencing the American Motorcyclist Association's supposed comment that 99% of motorcyclists are law-abiding citizens, identifies the Bandidos as an outlaw club that doesn't follow society's rules. Support patches, memorial patches for fallen brothers, and pins that show years of membership or specific achievements all have their own significance and protocols. When a member leaves the club, whether voluntarily or by force, his patches must be returned. There's no such thing as a retired patch hanging on someone's wall. The colors belong to the club, not the individual. Former members who've tried to keep their patches have reportedly faced severe consequences, ranging from beatings to worse. The symbols remain with the Brotherhood, not the man who once wore them. The reverence for these symbols extends to reproductions as well. The club vigorously defends its trademarked logos and patches. Unauthorized merchandise bearing Bandidos symbols might lead to unexpected visits from club members demanding the items be surrendered or destroyed. Even wearing Bandidos support gear without permission or connection to the club can be dangerous for uninformed civilians. The club's colors never touch the ground. They're never thrown. They're never left unattended where they could be disrespected or stolen. When not being worn, cuts are often carefully hung or stored in secure locations. Some members even sleep with their colors nearby, treating them with the reverence others might reserve for religious icons. This extreme devotion to symbols might seem excessive to outsiders, but it serves an important purpose. These shared symbols create immediate recognition between members who might otherwise be strangers. A bandido traveling across the country instantly recognizes a brother by his patches, creating an immediate bond and obligation to provide aid if needed. The symbols transform individuals into parts of something larger than themselves. The sacred nature of these symbols connects directly to another fundamental rule of club life: the code of silence that protects the brotherhood from outside scrutiny. Just as the patches represent external identity, the silence about club affairs forms the internal boundary between members and everyone else in the world. Number 10. Code of Silence. In the Bandidos world, loose lips don't just sink ships, they end memberships and sometimes lives. The Code of Silence, often referred to simply as keeping your mouth shut, forms the protective barrier between the club's internal business and the outside world. This isn't just about avoiding legal problems, it's about maintaining the brotherhood's sacred trust that separates members from everyone else. The most basic expression of this code is simple: what happens in the club stays in the club. Business discussions from meetings, conflicts between members, financial arrangements, club operations, planned activities, and especially anything that might have legal implications. All these topics remain strictly within the circle of trusted brothers. Even seemingly innocent details about club structure, membership numbers, or meeting locations are considered private information, not for public consumption. This silence extends to all outsiders, without exception. Wives, girlfriends, family members, childhood friends, co-workers. No matter how close these relationships might be, they stand outside the brotherhood. Members learn to compartmentalize their lives, keeping club matters entirely separate from their personal relationships. Some veteran members become so practiced at this separation that their own families have only the vaguest notion of their club activities despite years of membership. The prohibition against discussing club business reaches its most serious level when it comes to law enforcement. Bandidos members follow the principle that under no circumstances do they provide information to police, federal agents, prosecutors, or any government officials. Being questioned by authorities triggers an immediate response: silence, denial, or the standard, "I have nothing to say." Members who find themselves arrested are expected to take their charge without implicating others, regardless of the potential consequences to themselves. The consequences for breaking this code of silence can be severe and permanent. Minor breaches might result in fines, suspension, or physical discipline. Major violations, especially cooperating with law enforcement, typically lead to immediate expulsion from the club, often accompanied by the forcible removal of patches, sometimes cut directly from the member's vest while still wearing it, and potential violence. The club term snitch carries weight far beyond simple name-calling. It marks someone as having committed the ultimate betrayal of trust. This silence isn't just maintained through fear of consequences. It's reinforced through the psychological power of shared secrets. Holding confidential information that only brothers know creates a powerful bond. The more a member invests in protecting these secrets, the more committed he becomes to the group that shares them. Over time, the practice of discretion becomes second nature, a fundamental part of a member's identity within the club. The code extends to social media and digital communication, areas that have created new challenges for traditional secrecy. Members receive clear guidelines about what can and cannot be posted online. Photos of certain events, mentions of specific activities, or details about club operations don't appear on members' social media accounts. Many older members avoid social media entirely, seeing it as an unnecessary risk to the club's privacy. Even in medical emergencies, the code often holds firm. Stories circulate of members who've been injured, sometimes seriously, during club activities, but created alternative explanations for emergency room staff rather than reveal the true circumstances. The brothers' health matters, but not at the expense of the club's security and privacy. The power of this silence creates a mystique around the club that serves its purposes well. When outsiders know little about what truly happens within the organization, rumors and speculation fill the void, often making the club seem even more formidable than it might actually be. This uncertainty about the club's capabilities and intentions gives it strategic advantage in dealings with rivals, law enforcement, and the general public. This strict code of silence naturally extends into the next critical rule: the absolute prohibition against cooperation with law enforcement. While the code of silence covers all outsiders, the ban on dealing with authorities takes this principle to its most extreme and non-negotiable form, where any collaboration becomes an unforgivable betrayal of the Brotherhood. Number 9. Zero cooperation with law enforcement.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Well, before dawn this morning, the Bandidos found out what prize their reckless behavior had won them. And I don't think that they liked it too much.
For the Bandidos, the line between themselves and law enforcement isn't just clear, it's a fortress wall. The rule is absolute: no cooperation, no communication, no compromise with any badge-wearing authority. This stance goes beyond the general code of silence and represents one of the most fundamental aspects of the club's outlaw identity. Members don't talk to cops, period. This rule manifests most visibly when members encounter police, traffic stops, questioning at events, or even casual conversations initiated by officers are all met with minimal engagement. Members provide only legally required information: license, registration, insurance, and nothing more. The phrase, "I have nothing to say," becomes a mantra. Some members carry the phone numbers of club-friendly attorneys on them at all times, ready to invoke their right to legal representation before saying anything substantive. The prohibition extends to all forms of law enforcement: local police, state troopers, federal agents, prosecutors, correctional officers, and even seemingly benign government inspectors or regulators. Any figure with investigative or arrest powers falls under this ban. Members are taught to recognize unmarked vehicles, plainclothes officers, and undercover tactics to avoid accidental engagement with authorities they might not immediately identify. When a member gets arrested, club protocol kicks in immediately. The arrested brother provides only basic identifying information, refuses to answer questions without an attorney present, makes no statements about club activities or other members, and accepts whatever charges come rather than cooperating for leniency. The expectation is clear: you handle your own problems without creating problems for your brothers. The consequences for violating this rule are the most severe the club delivers. A member who cooperates with law enforcement, whether by providing information, becoming an informant, or testifying against brothers, is immediately expelled from the club. This expulsion isn't a simple matter of turning in patches. It often involves a bad standing declaration that follows the former member for life, potentially putting them at risk from former brothers who view their cooperation as the ultimate betrayal. This hardline stance creates practical challenges for members who find themselves facing serious charges. The pressure to cooperate can be intense when prosecutors offer reduced sentences or dropped charges in exchange for information about the club. Members who stand firm sometimes serve lengthy prison sentences rather than betray the Brotherhood. These members often become legendary within the club, held up as examples of true loyalty under the most difficult circumstances. The rule against cooperation extends even to reporting crimes committed against members. If a bandido is assaulted, robbed, or otherwise victimized outside of club business, the expectation remains that he handles the situation without involving law enforcement. The club has its own methods of addressing wrongs against its members, methods that don't involve police reports or courtroom testimony. This division between the club and authorities isn't maintained solely through rules and consequences. It's reinforced through constant messaging that law enforcement can never be trusted. Stories circulate about officers planting evidence, lying under oath, or using dirty tactics against club members. Whether these accounts are accurate or not, they serve to strengthen the psychological barrier between the Brotherhood and the legal system. The practical implementation of this rule requires careful training of new members. Prospects learn techniques for deflecting questions, recognizing potential setups, and navigating interactions with authorities without crossing the line into cooperation. They're tested and observed in real-world encounters before earning their full patch, ensuring they can be trusted to maintain this crucial boundary. This absolute stance against cooperation with law enforcement connects directly to the financial obligations of membership. The club maintains a treasury, partly to help brothers who face legal troubles while holding firm to the non-cooperation rule. When a member needs bail money or legal representation because he refused to cooperate for a better deal, the club's financial resources become his lifeline, creating another layer of the mutually supportive system that binds members together. Number 8. Financial commitment. Money matters in the Bandidos world, and membership comes with a price tag that never stops. The financial obligations of being a patch holder go far beyond occasional contributions. They represent a significant and ongoing commitment that tests a member's dedication to the Brotherhood. For many, these financial demands become one of the most challenging aspects of club life. At the most basic level, members pay regular dues to their local chapter, often weekly or monthly amounts that might range from $50 to several $100 depending on the chapter. These aren't optional contributions, they're mandatory fees for the privilege of membership. Missing dues payments quickly puts a member in bad standing, creating a debt that must be repaid, often with penalties attached. Some chapters track these payments with military precision, with the club treasurer keeping detailed records of who owes what. Beyond regular dues, members face an array of additional financial obligations. Special assessments might be levied for particular club needs. Legal defense funds, funeral expenses for fallen brothers, support for members' families during incarceration, or costs associated with club events or properties. These assessments aren't suggested donations. They're required payments that come with consequences if not met. The purchase and maintenance of a proper motorcycle represents another significant financial burden. Members must ride American-made bikes, typically Harley-Davidsons, that meet minimum engine size requirements and club standards. These aren't cheap machines, with new models often costing $20,000 or more. Add in the costs of maintenance, customization to meet club expectations, and repairs after long, hard rides, and the motorcycle alone becomes a major investment. Club events bring their own financial expectations. Members are expected to attend various runs, rallies, parties, and gatherings throughout the year, often requiring travel expenses, hotel stays, food, drinks, and participation in raffles or fundraisers. For members who live paycheck to paycheck, these events can strain already tight budgets, yet attendance isn't really optional in the club culture. When brothers face legal troubles, a common occurrence in outlaw motorcycle clubs, the financial burden spreads across the membership. Bail money, attorney fees, and support for families, while members serve time, all come partly from the collective resources of the Brotherhood. Each member contributes to these funds, understanding that someday they might be the one needing this financial safety net. The club culture also involves significant social spending. When bandidos gather at bars or clubhouses, members are expected to participate in the drinking, tipping generously at club-friendly establishments, and taking turns buying rounds. The concept of cheap or stingy carries serious negative weight in this brotherhood. A reputation for not pulling your financial weight can damage a member's standing almost as quickly as breaches of other club rules. For prospects, the financial demands can be particularly harsh. Beyond the regular expenses faced by patch holders, prospects often handle additional costs as part of proving their commitment. They might be required to buy drinks for members, cover unexpected expenses that arise during events, pay special prospect dues, or contribute labor that saves the club money. This financial testing period weeds out those who can't or won't prioritize the club in their personal budgets. The pressure to meet these financial obligations leads some members toward income sources outside traditional employment. While many bandidos hold regular jobs, others find ways to generate cash through side businesses, some of which operate in legal gray areas or beyond. The need for money to maintain club standing creates practical pressures that influence members' life choices and risk calculations. Some chapters maintain emergency funds for brothers facing genuine hardship, medical emergencies, job loss, or family crises. However, these safety nets typically come with the expectation of eventual repayment or additional service to the club. The Brotherhood provides support, but rarely without some form of reciprocity expected down the line. This constant financial pressure serves a purpose beyond simply funding club operations. It ensures that membership remains a significant commitment rather than a casual association. The financial investment creates another layer of loyalty. Having paid so much to be part of the club, Members become more committed to protecting their investment through dedication to its rules and values. The financial rules of the club connect naturally to its broader etiquette expectations. Just as members must meet specific monetary obligations, they must also adhere to a detailed code of conduct that governs their behavior in all aspects of club life, from riding formation to social interactions with each other and outsiders. Number 7. Uphold club etiquette.
They're thinking, depending on what kind of club this is, you could get your bike kicked right off the road. I'm telling you, I have seen it myself. A road captain is supposed to protect the pack of riders in that club. So if you make a move like this, you could get kicked right off the road. And if you know how it goes...
The Bandidos operate with a complex code of etiquette that governs nearly every aspect of member behavior. This isn't about polite dinner conversation. It's about specific rules of conduct that maintain order, demonstrate respect, and reinforce the club's hierarchy. New members often find this etiquette system one of the most challenging aspects to master, with unwritten rules that veterans seem to know instinctively. Proper motorcycle etiquette forms the foundation of these expectations. Members learn precise protocols for group riding, maintaining exact distances between bikes, holding formation through turns and traffic, and knowing when it's permissible to break formation for fuel or emergencies. The road captain's signals must be watched and immediately obeyed. Falling out of formation without proper cause might result in fines or other disciplinary measures back at the clubhouse. Inside the clubhouse, another set of rules takes effect. Members remove hats indoors, stand when officers enter the room, and wait to be seated until higher-ranking members take their places. Prospects remain standing until given permission to sit. Conversations stop when the president speaks. These formalities represent the basic courtesy expected of every member. The club's patches and colors come with their own requirements. Members never touch another man's cut without permission. They don't place colors where they might be disrespected. Never on the floor, never where someone might sit on them, never where they could be damaged. Before entering establishments, members might check whether colors are welcome to avoid potential conflicts over the club's symbols. Interaction with women follows specific protocols within club culture. Traditional club etiquette dictates that members don't speak to another brother's old lady without his presence or permission. Women are generally excluded from club business discussions and certain club spaces. These attitudes reflect the hyper-masculine culture that has defined outlaw motorcycle clubs since their beginning. Alcohol and substance use carry their own expectations. While many bandidos drink heavily at social functions, members must maintain enough control to defend themselves and their brothers if trouble arises. Those who become sloppy drunk and create problems face consequences. Knowing your limits, or at least being able to function despite exceeding them, represents an unwritten rule in many chapters. Communication etiquette extends to interactions with outsiders. Certain topics remain off-limits in any conversation with non-members. Claims about club activities or structure that haven't been approved can lead to swift discipline. Members learn to deflect questions rather than revealing information the club considers private. Respect for territory forms another crucial element. Members don't enter another chapter's territory without proper notification. They don't speak on behalf of other chapters or interfere in business arrangements established by brothers from different regions. These boundaries prevent internal conflicts that could weaken the organization. Protocols exist for encounters with friendly clubs, neutral organizations, and rivals. Members learn which clubs require formal acknowledgement, which should be avoided, and which might necessitate an immediate defensive posture. The complex political landscape between various motorcycle clubs demands careful adherence to established etiquette. Even seating arrangements follow unwritten rules. Officers typically take positions facing the door, where they can observe entrances and exits. Prospects sit where directed, often in positions that allow them to serve members quickly if needed. The arrangement reflects both hierarchy and security consciousness. These etiquette expectations aren't simply about tradition, they ensure the club functions efficiently. The formality reduces confusion about roles and responsibilities. The consistency creates a shared culture members can rely on regardless of which chapter they're visiting. The structure allows the club to respond quickly to external threats without wasting time on internal disagreements about proper procedure. This comprehensive system connects directly to expectations about members' personal conduct in all aspects of life, creating standards for behavior that reflect on the reputation of the entire organization. Number 6. Maintenance of personal conduct. Being a bandido doesn't end when the club meeting adjourns or the group ride finishes. The patch comes with 24/7 expectations about personal behavior that extend into every corner of a member's life. Whether at work, at home, or out in public, a bandido carries the club's reputation with him at all times, and his personal conduct remains under constant scrutiny from his brothers. The most basic expectation involves a certain toughness and self-reliance. Members handle their own problems without complaining or seeking sympathy. Displaying weakness, whether physical, emotional, or financial, reflects poorly not just on the individual, but on the brotherhood he represents. This doesn't mean members can't seek help from brothers when truly needed, but there's an unspoken threshold of self-sufficiency that must be maintained before asking for assistance. Physical appearance matters in the bandido's world. While there's no universal dress code beyond wearing colors when required, members generally maintain an appearance that commands respect and sometimes intimidation. This often means visible tattoos, maintained facial hair, clean but worn denim and leather, and a general demeanor that signals not to be messed with. Even when not wearing colors, a bandido is expected to carry himself with the confidence and presence that reflects his membership in a feared brotherhood. Personal conflicts require careful handling under club rules. A member who feels disrespected or wronged by someone outside the club doesn't simply react however he pleases. The potential consequences for the entire club must be considered. Minor insults might be ignored if responding would create larger problems for the brotherhood. Major disrespect might require a measured response that sends the necessary message without bringing unwanted heat on the club. Learning this balance between personal pride and club interests represents a key development in a member's maturation. Financial responsibility forms another aspect of expected personal conduct. Members who consistently fail to meet their financial obligations outside the club, defaulting on loans, failing to pay child support, accumulating debt they can't handle, create vulnerabilities that could be exploited by authorities or enemies. The pressure to cooperate with law enforcement increases substantially when a member faces financial ruin, making such situations dangerous for the entire brotherhood. The club's concern for personal conduct extends beyond mere image. It's about ensuring members can respond appropriately when conflicts arise. This connects directly to the next critical rule: how and when violence can be used in the bandido's world. Number 5. Strict enforcement of violence protocols. Violence within the bandido's world isn't random or impulsive. It's a controlled tool governed by specific protocols that members must follow. These rules don't exist to prevent violence, but rather to ensure that when force is used, it serves the club's interests rather than causing unnecessary problems. The system creates a disciplined approach to conflict that distinguishes professional club members from undisciplined troublemakers. The most fundamental rule is that unauthorized violence brings unwanted attention to the club. Members don't start bar fights over personal slights, don't engage in road rage incidents while wearing colors, and don't create public disturbances that attract police attention. A brother who repeatedly causes problems through undisciplined violence quickly finds himself facing internal consequences from leadership concerned about unwanted heat from authorities. Authority to authorize significant violence typically rests with chapter leadership, particularly the president. Members facing situations that might require serious force are expected to consult with leadership before acting when possible. This chain of command ensures that the potential consequences for the broader organization are considered before actions are taken that can't be undone. It also provides strategic oversight to conflicts that might otherwise escalate beyond what serves the club's interests. When violence becomes necessary, rules exist about how it occurs. Public settings where witnesses or cameras might be present are avoided when possible. Club colors are often not worn during planned confrontations to maintain plausible deniability about official club involvement. Multiple members typically participate rather than leaving individuals to handle situations alone, ensuring both effectiveness and shared responsibility that strengthens internal bonds. The level of force must match the nature of the offense in club culture. Minor disrespect might warrant intimidation or a measured physical response that sends a message without causing serious injury. Major violations, particularly those involving club women, territory disputes, or direct challenges to the club's authority, might receive much harsher responses. This proportional approach prevents unnecessary escalation while still maintaining the club's fearsome reputation. This controlled approach to violence isn't just about avoiding legal problems. It's about effectively defending the club's honor and reputation in a world where respect often comes from the fear of consequences. How the Brotherhood protects its standing becomes the next critical aspect of the Bandidos Code. Number 4. Defense of club honor. Few things matter more in Bandidos culture than the collective honor and reputation of the Brotherhood. This isn't about individual ego or personal pride. It's about maintaining the respect and fear that gives the club its power in the outlaw world. Members understand that the patch on their back carries a fearsome history that must be upheld through their actions, creating an obligation that runs deeper than personal safety or comfort. The most visible aspect of this defense comes when the club's symbols face direct disrespect. Stories abound of swift responses when outsiders mock the fat Mexican logo, disrespect the red and gold colors, or make derogatory comments about the club within earshot of members. These affronts rarely go unanswered. The specific response might vary based on circumstances, a stern warning, a physical confrontation, or something more serious. But ignoring such disrespect isn't an option when the club's reputation hangs in the balance. Territory disputes represent another arena where honor must be defended. When rival clubs encroach on areas claimed by the Bandidos, whether by establishing clubhouses, recruiting members, or simply riding through while displaying colors, a response becomes necessary. These situations follow careful protocols, often starting with diplomatic communications between club leaderships, but potentially escalating to more direct actions if the territorial challenge persists. The club's honor extends to how its members are treated by outsiders. An insult or attack against one bandido is considered an offense against the entire Brotherhood. Members cannot simply walk away when disrespected while representing the club. Doing so would suggest weakness that could invite further challenges. This doesn't mean every minor slight requires a physical response, but it does mean that calculated messages must be sent to those who test the club's boundaries. Business relationships carry their own honor requirements. When the club establishes arrangements with bars, tattoo shops, repair businesses, or other establishments, these agreements come with expectations of respect and fair treatment. Businesses that renege on understandings or show disrespect to patch holders risk losing not just the club's patronage, but possibly facing more direct consequences for damaging the relationship. While external threats to the club's honor require swift response, nothing generates a more immediate and severe reaction than betrayal from within. The Brotherhood built on trust cannot tolerate disloyalty, setting the stage for the most dreaded consequence in the Bandidos world. Number 3. Immediate retaliation against betrayal. Nothing threatens a Brotherhood built on trust more than betrayal from within. In the Bandidos world, loyalty isn't just expected, it's demanded on pain of severe consequences. When a member turns against his brothers through cooperation with law enforcement, unauthorized disclosure of club business, or other forms of treachery, the response is swift, certain, and often brutal. This immediate retaliation serves both punitive and preventive purposes, showing others the high price of disloyalty. The most serious form of betrayal involves cooperation with authorities. Members who provide information to law enforcement act as confidential informants, wear wires to record conversations with brothers, or testify against the club in court proceedings, commit what's considered an unforgivable offense. The club term rat carries the full weight of contempt reserved for those who choose self-preservation over Brotherhood loyalty. When such betrayal is discovered, the response typically comes quickly and without mercy. The consequences for serious betrayal begin with immediate expulsion from the club. This isn't a simple matter of turning in patches and walking away. The betrayer is put out bad, stripped of his colors, often literally cut from his vest while he's still wearing it, and declared persona non grata within the entire organization. His name might be published in club communications across regions, ensuring that no chapter anywhere would ever accept him again. Physical retaliation often follows this formal expulsion. While the specific response varies based on circumstances, the betrayed brotherhood rarely allows the violation to go unanswered. Stories circulate within club culture of severe beatings, permanent injuries, and worse befalling those who betrayed club trust. The reality of these consequences serves as a powerful deterrent to members who might otherwise be tempted by offers of leniency from authorities in exchange for information. The speed of this retaliation serves strategic purposes. Quick action prevents the betrayer from causing additional damage to the club through further disclosures. It also sends an unmistakable message to any members who might be wavering in their loyalty or considering cooperation with authorities. The visible, immediate consequences of betrayal make theoretical risks concrete and personal, reinforcing loyalty throughout the brotherhood. The brutal response to betrayal underscores why the club places such emphasis on another critical rule: maintaining absolute secrecy about internal matters. The less information that escapes the brotherhood's circle, the stronger its position remains against both external threats and the possibility of internal betrayal. Number 2. Uncompromising secrecy. In a world where information equals power, the Bandidos maintain control through rigorous secrecy about every aspect of their operations. This isn't just about avoiding legal consequences, it's about creating an operational security culture that protects the club's business, shields its members from targeting by rivals or authorities, and maintains the mystique that enhances its reputation. The commitment to secrecy affects everything from casual conversations to formal club policies. The most basic expression of this secrecy involves the club's inner workings. Organizational structure, membership numbers, chapter locations, leadership identities, and reporting relationships remain strictly confidential information. While some aspects become publicly known through law enforcement disclosures or media investigations, the club maintains a policy of neither confirming nor denying such information. This intentional obscurity makes it difficult for outsiders to map the organization's true shape and size. Financial matters receive particularly careful protection. Revenue sources, expense allocations, bank accounts, cash storage locations, and money movement methods stay strictly within the knowledge of authorized members. Even within the club, financial information operates on a need-to-know basis, with only certain officers having complete visibility into the organization's economic picture. This compartmentalization prevents any single member from possessing enough information to compromise the club's financial security. Club meetings embody this secrecy culture in their physical setup. Gatherings typically occur in secure locations with controlled access. Phones might be collected before sensitive discussions to prevent electronic surveillance. Guards may be posted to watch for unexpected visitors or law enforcement presence. These precautions create both practical security and a psychological environment where members remain constantly aware of the need for discretion. Communication between members follows protocols designed to minimize vulnerability. Discussions about sensitive matters happen in person rather than over phones or electronic messaging. When digital communication becomes necessary, members often use coded language, avoid specific names or locations, and keep messages brief and ambiguous. Some chapters utilize encrypted messaging apps or burner phones for matters that can't wait for face-to-face meetings. The culture of uncompromising secrecy wraps protectively around the most sacred aspects of club life, particularly the rituals and traditions through which men become brothers and sometimes cease to be. The final rule reveals how the symbolic transformation of identity through patches creates the ultimate reward and punishment within the Bandidos world. Number 1. The sacred ritual of patching and its loss.
Yeah, all these boats, we gonna stay away. Gotta stay away from these. Be careful with stuff like this.
The journey from outsider to patch-wearing Bandido represents one of the most significant transformations a man can experience. This process isn't simply about receiving a piece of fabric to wear on a leather vest. It's a complete identity change that follows strict protocols shrouded in secrecy and tradition. The patch symbolizes full acceptance into the Brotherhood, and its potential loss hangs over every member as the ultimate consequence for failing to uphold the club's standards. The path begins with prospect status, a grueling probationary period that can last anywhere from several months to several years, depending on the chapter and the individual. During this time, prospects exist in a liminal state, neither fully outsiders nor yet brothers. They wear only partial patches or prospect-specific identifiers that mark their transitional status. This period serves as an extended test of loyalty, toughness, and commitment that weeds out those who lack the necessary qualities for brotherhood. Prospects face constant evaluation through assigned duties that often range from mundane to degrading. They might be responsible for watching bikes during events, running errands for patch holders, maintaining the clubhouse, or handling less pleasant tasks that full members prefer to delegate. Their willingness to perform these duties without complaint forms part of the ongoing assessment of their suitability for membership. When leadership determines a prospect has proven worthy, the patching ceremony takes place. These rituals occur behind closed doors, witnessed only by full members of the chapter and sometimes visiting members from allied chapters. Receiving colors changes everything for the new member. The three-piece patch, top rocker with Bandidos, central fat Mexican logo, and bottom location rocker, transforms the wearer from an aspiring member to a full brother with all the rights, privileges, and obligations that entails. Just as sacred as the receiving of patches is the nightmare scenario of their loss. Patches can be taken for serious violations of club rules, betrayal of brotherhood trust, failure to meet obligations, or cowardice in defending club honor. This removal, being pulled or stripped, represents the most severe punishment short of physical retaliation. The symbolic death of having one's identity forcibly removed often proves more psychologically devastating than any physical beating. The process of patch removal follows its own grim protocol. Typically, it happens in the presence of multiple members, often including chapter officers. The patches might be physically cut from the member's vest while he's still wearing it, a humiliating ritual that makes concrete the severing of brotherhood ties. Different categories of separation carry different implications. Being out good means leaving the club on acceptable terms. Being out bad signifies a dishonorable departure, often accompanied by ongoing risk of retaliation and permanent exclusion from any positive connection to the club. This sacred aspect of patching, both its conferral and its potential loss, completes the circle of rules that bind the Bandidos brotherhood together. From the fundamental principle of brotherhood above all, through the practical regulations governing behavior and loyalty, to this ultimate symbol of belonging and rejection, the club's rule system creates a comprehensive framework that transforms individual motorcyclists into parts of something they consider larger and more significant than themselves.